I would run around the house and hide and all that stuff. But I would really get it more than anybody.
Do you think your father was too strict?
Yes. No, he's gonna kill me.
He's gonna get you still worried about that at your age? Well, he feels that he was strict.
I'm glad he said it. Now I'll say it, yes. Did he?
So y'all, I went to go see the Michael Jackson movie, and baby, I give it a 10 out of 10. I don't know why anyone would have a problem with this movie. It was amazing. And as far as Jafar Jackson's performance, chef's kiss. But it got me to thinking. It got me to thinking about the depths of having a narcissistic parent and what that does to the psyche of a child who is a starseed. Let's talk about it.
Do you feel grown up?
I've been around grown people, since I was 5. I mean, on tour, backstage with all the musicians and the singers, and I feel grown up for all my life.
So there is this quiet experience I believe some people grow up with, but for the most part, it's not a part of the normal social zeitgeist, especially in the Black community. And I'm not alienating any other group because I know a narcissistic parent can exist anywhere. But I think that the way that we speak about and understand our relationship to our parents in the Black community, it is almost taboo to even attempt to peel back the layers and study or point out any mistakes and flaws that may have occurred with our predecessors. But I think it's important that we do that if we wish to evolve going forward. So there's this quiet experience I believe some people grow up with. And if you didn't live it, it sounds abstract. It sounds way out there. But if you did live it, you feel it immediately. It's what happens when you're a child that is deeply sensitive and intuitive, but you're raised in survival mode. You're raised in an environment where things are tense and money is scarce, and you see a lot of poverty and challenges all around you. And the parent that you're raised by doesn't necessarily see you as a person, but as a reflection, a tool, a project. And what I mean by that is that they don't see your individuality, your personal autonomy, or your self-agency. In fact, they're probably insulted by your self-agency because how dare you have a voice that they didn't approve of. But we'll get into that later. We will definitely get into that later. Definitely was a lot of notes and hints of that in the Michael movie. I know your every move, so won't you just let me be? So the dynamic of a starseed versus a narcissistic parent is what we're talking about. Now, imagine coming into this world as a child and you already feel different. Not better, not superior, just probably very aware of things going on around you. You pick up on everything. You pick up on energy when it comes to words, tension before conflict, truth before it's even spoken. Things that probably you're not supposed to know. And if you were part of the millennial generation, you were probably still a part of that generation where you still vehemently was directed to stay in a child's place, which means to remain a subordinate, to remain oblivious, to remain subjugated. I don't know if subjugated is the right word. I want to say remain very much so a delineation and in your parents' shadow. I think maybe, in my opinion, us millennial parents, with even entertaining the thought of soft parenting, speaks to how we are trying to give our children more of a voice, more self-agency, and to see them as people and not just as little peons that we have to raise. But back to what I was saying about the starseed. So you're a kid sitting in a room thinking to yourself, why does this feel so heavy? Why does this feel fake? Why does everybody not notice what's going on? Especially when you're in a toxic family structure. And there was one scene in the movie where Michael was sitting in his room, and I think this was after he had gotten a pretty rough beating. And he was sitting in his room, like reading his books. And I really love how they got into the psychology of who he was as a human being. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But he was sitting there, he was reading his books, he was reading about, this evil man, and the evil man in the storyline was Joseph, his daddy Joseph. Okay. And you could tell that being around that heavy, intimidating, vile, crash out energy, Joseph, was very disruptive to Michael's nervous system. Okay. And you could tell that so when you are a starseed like this, again, you feel like you don't belong, but it's not that you believe you're superior. You just know you don't fit. And there was another scene where Michael was talking to Catherine, his mother, and they were eating ice cream. And he was like saying how his pets was his friends. And his mother was like, well, I would like for you to, entertain the idea of having friends that are actually people, right? And Michael was like, well, I don't want to have friends that are people, because the way that they see me is they either see me as something to take pictures of, like I'm in a museum, like I'm not a real person. Now, what I wanted to highlight is for Michael, it was a very far extreme, because he was a celebrity and he had been in the celebrity business since he was 8 years old. But for a regular person who has that spark of a starseed in them and other people notice it, what you will note is that people either see you as competition or something to admire. So you're either getting admiration or competition, or hell, even both. And you're wondering why there is this unspoken feeling that people around you are somehow trying to beat you at a game that you never knew you signed up for playing. And trust me, if you know, okay? And then at other times, you're just trying to have fun, be around people, enjoy life. And guess what? They are either copying you or holding you to this high pedestal that doesn't even make sense for a human being. And it gets to a point where it's like, how can I be comfortable around people that are not comfortable around me?
It's a hard situation. It is. And it's something I have to put up with.
It must be hard to have real friends.
Yes.
They either have to find a way to dominate and overpower, or they have to hold me in such a high regard that even interacting with them on a daily basis is simply not enjoyable, because you can't be yourself. You can't make mistakes. Starseeds know what I'm talking about. You know something is off in your environment. So you spend more time alone, not because you lack social skills, but because the way that your vibration works, it has a specific impact on people. And when you try to talk about it, like say you haven't realized your full potential yet, you're not a star like Michael Jackson, so outwardly it doesn't make sense. And then you're around individuals who are still reacting to your energy, but they are not going to basically confess that they're reacting to your energy this way because of the fact that they see you as unique or different, or they get a different vibe about you, because that would just, for them, that would just admit that they feel some type of way about you, maybe even inferior to a certain extent. So they're not going to admit that. So you can't have these conversations on a normal basis. You can't have these conversations with other people, because they will think you are completely out of your damn mind. If not that, they're going to see you as pretentious and arrogant. And so what I want to do is I want to tell my fellow starseeds that you are not tripping. You are not mistaken. These things are really happening around you. And the reason why you know that these things are happening around you is because you weren't looking for it. You're not walking around going, cause see, I am the baddest bitch, or I'm the flyest dude, I'm the flyest nigga. You're not walking around with that kind of attitude looking for haters. You are just getting haters by existing. Okay? Now, as this relates to having a narcissistic parent, you take that starseed of a child and you place them under a parent who cannot see beyond themselves. A parent that doesn't recognize your individuality, only your usefulness. Okay? You are there to be a spinoff of them, a delineation. They don't really want to let you out of their grips. So you're not being nurtured. You're being studied. And instead of being understood, you're being managed. You're not being protected. You're being controlled. Now, you will remember in the movie with Michael Jackson and Joe Jackson, Michael Jackson was bullied into doing that tour with his brothers and during that Pepsi commercial. right? And during the Pepsi commercial, what happened? His hair catches on fire. When his hair catches on fire, what does Joe Jackson do? As soon as he barely out the damn hospital, good, barely alive, I want to get my son back on tour. And the only thing that's going to make my boy happy is getting back on tour. Sitting there with Deion Cole looking a whole fool playing Don King, right? And trying to relive that moment because Joe Jackson is living vicariously through his children. You see what I'm saying? And so he was trying to capture the moment. Michael Jackson had become a big star. He had did his solo album, Off the Wall, and he was trying to pull his son back into the fray, back into the fold, so he could continue to have that fame, have that stardom, make deals. These are all things that Joe Jackson was not able to do on his own accord. You see, another thing you'll note is in the beginning of the movie. Now, mind you, this is a movie. But we're just going to use this as an example because if we take all of the things that we've learned about Joe Jackson over the course of the stories, even the Jackson 5 movie that came on TV, everything we learned about him, we know that this man was a control freak. We know that this man was using his own children as narcissistic supply. But one of the other deeper layers is Joe Jackson wanted to be a musician. You could see that he had the musical inclination, but he had a wife, and he had children, and he worked in a steel mill in Gary, Indiana. That man hated his life. He hated his life, and I'm inclined to believe he hated his children, and he hated himself, and he despised being poor. He despised being black. And I know that sounds like hyperbole, but if you just pay attention to all of the things that transpired with his children later on, they took both his dream realized and his nightmares realized, his darkest parts of himself realized too. Because with a narcissistic parent, most of what they're going to do is project onto you. Okay? So I'm pretty sure Joe Jackson's father was far more brutal to him than he was towards those boys. But he saw in those boys in a way out, a way that he was not able to take for himself. And he used them basically as vessels to reach the heights that he wanted to reach. And that is the reason why he wouldn't let Michael go. Throughout the movie, he was the antagonist, constantly trying to withhold Michael from his destiny, from what Michael wanted to do. Okay? So even though he noticed his gifts, his sensitivity, his intelligence, his presence, he didn't give a fuck about it. He wanted that boy to ultimately be like his avatar for what he wanted in life. That is something that is very disparaging and very unsettling about the narcissistic parent. Because you are an extension of them, they don't understand that you have every right to express your individuality and your self-agency. And them taking offense to it is fucking weird. And it's toxic. And that's why kids who have parents like that eventually end up cutting them off. It's not because they don't appreciate the parent. It is because they can't grow beyond the parent because the parent is so enmeshed with the child that the child can't even realize their full potential. I want to say that Michael wasn't just talented. He was deeply sensitive. He was intuitive. He was expressive. But his father didn't see the child. He saw the opportunity. The weight of that responsibility that he had on them with all them kids. And mind you, the show only shows you, the TV show, what we've heard, the books and all that, only shows you a part of what Joe Jackson was all about. I'm telling you that he was probably considerably worse. So Michael Light became his source and his exit strategy. His identity, his project, his gift was a machine to him. So of course, yeah, all right, greatness came out of that, but at a cost. Because what I feel like happened is that Michael's childhood essence was pretty much null and void, turned into output. And it created what I believe to be a split paradigm inside of Michael. And I believe that he suffered from acute arrested development syndrome.
The people, just like almost like going to a play, a performance. I usually go there and Liza's there, Liza Minnelli, and she pulls me out on the floor and we get to dancing, and we just have the time of our lives. Or Brooke Shields supposed to be there. Chic, it's one of my favorite groups. I like songs that touch the heart. and that stay with a person for a lifetime. And that's what's important.
Now, as a star seed in such a volatile environment, you adapt early. You learn to read people's moods, and you also learn to shift yourself depending on who walks in the room. So what happens is you silence part of yourself and you amplify other parts of yourself. What was continuously amplified in Michael was his musical ability, his gifts, his singing, his dancing. And shout out to Jafar. Good grief, those dances were the way that he emulated Michael. I don't know. He was more Michael than Michael, if you ask me. Okay. But for a while, Michael was agreeable, doing whatever Joseph would have him to do, palatable, anything to keep the peace, anything to stay safe. The only thing that brought Michael some sort of refuge is engulfing himself in the industry. But from what we know about the industry, it's just exploitative. So he went from one form of exploitation to another, in my opinion. He went from this volatile, controlling, overbearing, violent exploitation to, oh, you can have whatever you like, exploitation. And that proved to be his demise because Michael never had a safe space. He never had a safe space. He lost himself in regulating other people. He was the biggest rock star in the world. People don't remember this, or Gen, I would say maybe Gen Alpha and Gen Z would never have known the impact that Michael had, but Michael had an impact that was earth-shattering. You never seen nothing like it. And he learned how to regulate the world. The world. Imagine being so deeply broken that you spend your life trying to make the world happy. The world.
Yelling, Michael, Michael.
I'm two different people, on and off stage. But I formed a personality that's me. I can't get away from that. It's just the whole overall thing it's hard to deal with. It really is.
So now you grow up with two versions of yourself. The version that the world needs, the successful one, the polished one, the one that makes everybody look good, the record labels, the radio, the concert promoters, the concert venues, so on and so forth. And then there's the other version of you, the real one, the one that's sitting quiet, that's observing, that's waiting, that's knowing this is not who I am. This is who I was shaped into. And that internal tension, that's where the real battle begins, because now you're not just healing from them. You're healing from the version of you that abandoned yourself to survive. And honestly, I don't know that Michael ever got to that point. From what we know about his story, and this is only what we know, supposedly he had become very addicted to substances. And those substances can numb you from feeling the feelings that you need to feel to come back to yourself. And I believe that Michael was frozen at the age of being that 8-year-old boy when he was a child, when he was trying to figure it out, when he was abused. He tried to relive his childhood over and over again. And I think that the movie did a great job in basically showcasing Michael as someone who was sensitive, in tune, in touch, saw the beauty and the magic in people and animals, but he never grew up internally, only externally. He never grew from that child that just wanted to play. These kids had to go to school 8 hours, come home, practice, then go and do shows on the road, getting beat. Getting beat is not funny, but on the road, getting beat, threatened, forced to labor and work hard. There was even a scene where Joe Jackson was gonna try to intimidate Michael because he was steady dancing and singing at the same time in the studio.
Actually, you're becoming like a stage addict. I really am. Like when there are off days and there is no show, I'm up at night dancing just to sing. It's really strange.
And that literally, I believe that's a tick. And Barry Gordy stopped him because it was a sign that something else was going on. This is where people get it all twisted and all messed up. They see success, but they don't see the cost of it. Michael sacrificed his childhood and his mental health to be a superstar. They see talent, but they do not see the fracture behind it. To be that much of a perfectionist and to work as hard as he does, that's not something that someone can do normally out of their own volition. They literally have to have some sort of obsessive compulsive nature in order to fulfill that. Now, obviously, I love Mike. We love Mike. Mike is one of the greatest entertainers in history. But that man almost died trying to please his father. And he died trying to please his fans, trying to please the labels. He never got his redemption arc and return to self. And that pains me as a fellow starseed. That pains me. If you've lived this, the real journey is not success. It's the return to self. It's asking, who was I before I became what they needed? It's peeling back layers of conditioning. It's undoing layers of self-rejection and self-harm. It's relearning your own voice. And that is not easy. But to return to self is the real goal, the real power, the real redemption, the real success, and what every starseed is searching for within themselves. You can't pick and choose the environment and the people around you. But once you become aware, just know that achieving all your goals won't fix what's harmed on the inside. It is returning to self. And I wish this for all starseeds out there. If you have enjoyed, please leave a comment, like, subscribe, and I appreciate you all. Peace.
Other kinds of sounds of music that I love to do. It hurts what is inside of me and it can't get out and it's hidden from the world.